Well, back in June, I made a big video going in depth about why I love Sonic Adventure 2 in order to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the game's release. That video being a project I had worked on for a few months, never dedicating an insane amount of time during a given week or day. 2021 also marks the 10th anniversary of Sonic Generations' release, as well as the 15th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006's release. Two games that I very much enjoy. I got the idea to do videos on these games, but later figured instead of just dropping long videos about games I like on a significant anniversary of theirs, I figured it would be a lot easier to just look at the entire series, and I see no better way than to start with the original games that birthed the franchise during the early 90s. Before we start though, I feel that it is important to talk about how I got into the series, as that will establish how I view the series, what the series means to me, what games I grew up with, etc. So without further ado, let's begin. So my first exposure to the series was in 2009. For reference, I had just turned 5 earlier that year. I was born in February of 2004, around a month after Heroes initially released in the West. Anyways, I was first exposed to the series in 2009 with Sonic Unleashed. No, not that version. Yeah, that one. From there, I had played just about every Sonic game I could get my hands on, whether that would be on the GameCube where I played the Mega Collection, the adventure games Shadow and Riders, the DS where I played the Advance and Rush games, the Wii where I played the storybook games, the Wii version of Unleashed in Colors, as well as the 360 where I played 06, Generations, and Free Riders. So yeah, I guess you could say that I made sure I had my Sonic fix when I was a kid. But anyways, let's now begin talking about what made these classic Sonic games so iconic. Sonic the Hedgehog was the start of Sega's push against Nintendo's monopoly over the video game industry. They tried to do this a little bit with Alex Kidd and the Sega Master System to gain a flagship character, but they failed horribly. What drew me to Sonic when I was younger was the character design. Sonic was always meant to be the cooler, edgier alternative to Mario, and I think that the character design does a wonderful job with this. I mean, just look at the look Sonic has on the box art for Sonic 1. While, granted, this is a region-specific design for Sonic, when you boot up the game, you see pretty much the exact same thing. This is just a plain cool look. Even when you're in the stages, Sonic looks like he's not messing around. I guess that calls for a look into the game itself now. The premise of the game is that animals are being enslaved and being used to power robots by Dr. Robotnik. And Sonic, well, he doesn't think that this is cool, and so he has to put a stop to this. If you really simplify it, it is really just good guy stops bad guy from doing bad things, but I think that's perfectly fine, to be honest with you. Sonic's character plays into this very well, as he doesn't need anyone to tell him that he needs to stop Robotnik and free the animals. He does it himself because, well, he thinks that it's the right thing to do. So, yeah, already Sonic was pretty different from other video game characters at this point. He was also different in how he played. To begin, what is Mario's moveset in the 1985 release? He moves and he jumps. That's it, he just runs and jumps. Sonic does this as well, but he has an additional move, the roll. It sounds pretty dull without any explanation, but the roll really plays into how this game is designed very well. Sonic works off of a momentum-based physics system, and the levels are designed around that, with plenty of tricks that require manipulating the physics. My favorite of which is getting these speed shoes, giving you enough speed to jump off of this wall, land on top of this loop-de-loop, giving you a bunch of rings and an extra life. This isn't the only thing to the level design though. Sonic's levels were designed around speedrunning the Super Mario 1 levels. There are plenty of tricks throughout the game that will allow you to go faster simply if you are familiar with the stages. To put it in very simple terms, the more you play the stages, the faster you'll be able to go. In this part of Marble Zone Act 2, you could wait on this block, but why would you do that when you can just simply run and jump across all these platforms? This applies to all zones except for one, that being Labyrinth Zone, which is by far the worst zone in the game for a plethora of reasons. It has plenty of sections where you have to wait and you can't even really bypass the waiting, and the water physics make plenty sections of this level plain unbearable. What does still apply to Labyrinth Zone, as well as every other zone, is that the level design rewards the curious mind greatly, as there are plenty of secret areas that will reward the player, whether it be with a shield, speed shoes, extra lives, or rings. Oh, the rings. Sonic does not have some sort of health bar that gets lower as he gets hit. As long as he has at least one ring on hand, he can withstand any damage other than being crushed, and of course falling into a bottomless pit. Sonic also loses all his rings upon being hit, so I guess it doesn't really matter if you just want to complete the stage, but the more rings you have upon completing the stage, the more points are added to your score. But more importantly, if you have at least 50 rings at the end of Act 1 or Act 2 of a stage, a giant ring will appear, and if you jump into it, you will be transferred to one of the game's 6 special stages. The special stages work as follows. The stage itself is rotating and you control Sonic's movement. If you hit one of these R circles, the stage will rotate in the opposite direction. If you run into one of these things that says goal, you're just booted out of the stage entirely. The objective of the stage is you want to break through the center and collect the Chaos Emerald that awaits you. I don't love these special stages, but I don't necessarily think that they're bad. They're pretty whatever in my mind. My least favorite part about them is how you actually access them. I said that you need 50 rings to enter the special stage, and you can only enter at the ends of Acts 1 and 2 of a stage, as Act 3 always has a boss for you to fight. There are just 6 zones in the game, and the final zone, Scrap Brain Zone, doesn't allow you to access special stages at all. So you have only 10 chances to make it into the special rings. If you manage to have 50 rings at the end of each stage, good luck with that, by the way, because there are some stages where that's just not manageable. I'm looking at you, Labyrinth Zone. You need to be successful 60% of the time. More likely than not, you're not going to get the special ring to appear every single time, so you have little to no room for error if you want to collect all the Chaos Emeralds. For something that difficult, there must be some great reward, right? Getting the Chaos Emeralds just adds flowers to the ending. I try to get all the Chaos Emeralds whenever I play this game, but I'm not gonna reset the game if I know that I'm not gonna get them all. I will say though, I absolutely love the music that plays in these special stages. The song mixed with the special stage backgrounds just feel like they're not even a part of reality, like they're a dream. As for the rest of the soundtrack, they all, just like the special stage music, blend very well with the visuals that the stage has to offer. Whether that be the bright colors of Green Hill Zone, the dark ruins of Marble Zone, or the star-filled night sky of Starlight Zone. The songs, simply put, are total bangers. Of course, none of these things would have mattered if Sonic didn't have a great villain to go up against, and with that, I introduce to you Dr. Ivo Robotnik, the antagonist that Sonic goes toe-to-toe with at the end of Act 3 of each zone. With that being said, the bosses in this game are, they're super easy. They're a joke. I like the one in Starlight Zone, but other than that, these bosses kinda suck. Anyways, Dr. Robotnik is such a great villain, in part because the game builds your wants to defeat him from the very start. You don't defeat him at the end of a zone and find out that the real one is in another castle, nor does he send one of his minions to take you out. Sonic and Robotnik go at it the whole game, and every time you just want to get him good. You want to get that final blow in and defeat him once for all. Him making his grand escapes after you destroy his new machine builds wonderfully towards the climax. What also adds to the climactic nature is how the areas you run through become more mechanical and less natural as you progress through the game, going from Sonic's territory and into Robotnik's, sort of giving off the impression that he's slowly conquering the land. I mean, Green Hill Zone is filled with grass, water, rocks, and Scrap Brain Zone is made of metal and is filled with all types of death traps like spike balls, crusher blocks, buzzsaws, and flamethrowers. Climax really picks up at the end of Scrap Brain Act 2, where Sonic gets trapped and he falls into the ruins of Scrap Brain Act 3, aka Labyrinth Zone Act 4. But after all that, Sonic makes his way back up to have the final showdown against Robotnik. The boss is pretty simple, but one thing that makes this a lot more intense than the other ones is that you don't have any rings to rely on. He'll appear in one of 2 pillars that emerge, and you have to make sure that you don't get crushed by the pillars, while also being able to hit the pillar that he's inside of. After the pillars go back in, you have to avoid these electric spheres, and this is probably the hardest part of the boss fight, to be honest with you. But even with that being said, it's not that difficult. After 8 hits, you have finally defeated Dr. Robotnik, saving the day, ending Sonic the Hedgehog 1. So yeah, that is Sonic the Hedgehog. To say it was a smashing success would be quite the understatement. Sonic 1 was the main reason that Nintendo didn't totally dominate during the 16-bit era. More importantly though, it's the origin of one of the most popular characters in video game history, and that doesn't happen without making a great first impression. Sonic would not be as popular as he is now if this game was anything worse than good. The game certainly isn't perfect, but I love playing this game. It's my second favorite classic Sonic game, and one of my favorite Sonic games ever made. I just see far fewer issues with this game like I do with 2 of the other 3 games that I'm going to be speaking about later in this video. So obviously, with a character this popular, you don't just make it a one-off thing. And Sega did just that, as in 1992, we were given Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic 2 was pretty big, to put it very lightly. The marketing team had made this a huge event known as Sonic Tuesday, where the game would launch worldwide. The reason this is important is because the game's release date was different depending on the region. Sonic 2 was set to feature more action, stages, speed, enemies, secrets, the list goes on. To this very day, it is still said by many that this is the best classic Sonic game, and even the best Sonic game ever made depending on who you talk to. So what do I think of this? Well, I'm gonna start by saying, I think Sonic 1 is better than Sonic 2, but that does not mean that Sonic 2 is necessarily a bad game. I still think it is a good game, depending on what version that you play. I'm going to say right off the bat that I don't like the Genesis version of Sonic 2 for reasons that I will explain as we get deeper and deeper into the game. However, if you're like me and you don't like playing the Genesis version of Sonic 2, this is where the remasters come in. In 2013, Christian Whitehead and his team were tasked with remastering both Sonic 1 and 2, and my god, these are amazing. Both games are put in widescreen, the frame rate seems to be bumped up, far less instances of lag, a bunch of options, and far more things that, in the case of Sonic 2, I will discuss as we go. For some reason, as of December 2021, these still are not on consoles. Like, they are only on mobile devices. It's Sonic 1 and 2. I don't know why Sega is so reluctant to just rake in a bunch of free money, but hey, what do I know? Anyways, the thing that stands out most about Sonic 2 is the introduction of a new character, Sonic's sidekick, Miles Tails Prower, better known by the much more simple name, Tails. Tails was introduced with the main focus of adding multiplayer to the game so that now you can play with your friend, sibling, or even one of your parents if they're a true alpha gamer. Whereas Sonic 1, only having a single playable character, did not allow you to play with somebody else. I guess that now we should begin discussing Sonic 2 as a game. The premise of Sonic 2 is almost one-to-one with Sonic 1, though it does get more ambitious towards the end, with the premise being that Robotnik is once again capturing animals and using them to fuel his robots. The difference being that he's moved his operations over to West Side Island, which is where Tails resides. So how does Tails himself fit into all of this? Well, Tails was impressed by Sonic's speed, and, well, he decided to follow him around, and Sonic ended up letting him tag along, pretty much becoming his sidekick. The speed that impressed Tails is one of the bigger focuses of Sonic 2. How is that, you ask? Well, for starters, Sonic has a brand new addition to his moveset known as the Spin Dash. Crouch and hold the jump button, and Sonic will be able to take off at high speeds from a standstill. Repeatedly tap the jump button, and the Spin Dash will become even more powerful as you'll be able to go even further. This is a great addition to the game, as Sonic 1 had moments where if you didn't have enough speed to go through, let's say, a loop-de-loop, you'd have to run back and build that speed up, which could get very annoying at times. Now this is no longer a worry. Accidentally lose your speed for a loop? No problem, just spin dash through it. Sonic's speed cap is also completely removed, allowing Sonic to literally outpace the camera in certain parts of the game. I'd say the physics feel a lot better due to Sonic's additional speed. Like, not that the physics were changed or recoded to any good degree, because, like, I don't think that they were, but how the speed can add to the physics and their manipulation. How about the stages? This is a very unpopular opinion, but I'm really not that big on Sonic 2 stages, and would even say that they're a drastic downgrade from Sonic 1. It makes sense to believe that stages focused more on speed would be a lot better for a series whose mascot is supposed to be the fastest thing alive. However, in Sonic 2, I just don't think that it was executed all that well. There are numerous examples of not being able to see things coming, like here in Aquatic Ruin, plenty of instances in Oil Ocean, or the worst offender, Metropolis Zone. Enemy placement is generally a big issue with this game. You would think that it wouldn't really matter since, well, you're only losing rings and you just pick them right back up. But this makes it a lot harder to access the special stages. Special stages are far more common in this game, as instead of needing 50 rings at the end of each stage and then jumping into a giant ring, you are required to have 50 rings when you reach a checkpoint, resulting in these little stars appearing above it. Jump in, and you enter the new special stages. How are these special stages compared to Sonic 1? Well, let's just say that they are far, far worse. Sonic 1's special stages were not a sight to behold, but they weren't necessarily bad. I found them to be pretty whatever. Sonic 2's special stages stages, on the other hand, are an entire new level of frustration. The objective is simple enough on its own, though. Collect a certain amount of rings, don't get hit by bombs, and if you do get hit by bombs, you'll lose some of your rings. Sound easy? Well, in plenty of cases, it's not. They try to make the special stages feel like they're in 3D, but this just does not work. The draw distance is so bad that on Genesis, you can't even see the bombs half the time until it's too late. Poor draw distance can also cause you to miss rings. Those two aspects alone are pretty horrendously bad. However, they were made far better in the mobile remasters, which once again, why are they not on PC or consoles yet? The special stages do not have the draw distance problem that they did in the Genesis version, making the special stages far more tolerable in that version. A problem that still exists no matter what version of the game you're playing, though to a lesser degree in the mobile remaster, is Tails' AI. If you're playing with both Sonic and Tails, they'll be able to both be in the special stages, but it's not like they both move as one unit. You control Sonic, and Tails' AI will follow your every move, but he does it like a second later, so not only do you have to account for your own actions as Sonic, but you now have to be ultra precise to make sure that Tails doesn't get hit or lose any rings that you collected. Tails' AI can also screw you over in boss fights, as if you try to attack too soon after Tails hits, you'll just clip through the boss. But back to the special stages, I've heard the argument that Tails helps more than he hurts in the special stages, and this just is not true whatsoever. There are so many instances when I play this game that I just miss out on advancing in the special stages or completing it altogether by just a few rings, and who would have guessed it, Tails got hit because of his bad AI delay. So if you plan on going for all the Chaos Emeralds, it's best to just go with Sonic. This is also the game that introduced the idea of there being a 7th Chaos Emerald. I don't know why they added a 7th, but hey, they did. And if you somehow manage to complete all 7 special stages without ripping your hairs out, you'll be rewarded with the oh-so-powerful Super Sonic, an actual reward as opposed to Sonic 1's flowers in the ending. With all emeralds acquired, having 50 rings on hand and jumping will have Sonic transform into Super Sonic, a bright yellow Super Saiyan-esque transformation of the blue hedgehog that can travel at faster speeds and reach greater heights with his jump. Oh, he's also invincible, so that's fun. It sounds great, I know, but it is nowhere close to worth the trouble. Super Sonic is a pain in the ass to get because of how frustrating the special stages are, as well as getting into them as a result of annoying enemy placement alone. But this was also a world before save states in Sonic games, so if you get a game over, game resets and you're back to Emerald Hill Zone Act 1 with no emeralds, and you have to go for it all again. The same thing applies if you turn off the console. So let's see. Terrible special stages and quite frustrating level design. Does it make sense why I don't like the OG Sonic 2? Like, those are very significant negatives, especially for a game that I wouldn't even say is bad. So, let's talk about all the good that Sonic 2 has lying within. To talk about the stages again, the concept that skill and familiarity will be of great benefit carries over here. There are plenty of instances where if you just simply know the right shortcut or know the level layout as a whole, the level becomes far more fun to play. This Rising Water segment in Chemical Plant Zone Act 2 can be completely skipped with a well-timed jump, and the Water and Aquatic Ruin Zone can be completely avoided if you know what you're doing. Aquatic Ruin is Sonic 2's water stage, and I absolutely love it because, well, it's not sluggish or annoying like Labyrinth Zone was. The stages have also been shortened to 2 acts per zone. I never really had a problem with 3 acts in Sonic 1, with the exception of Labyrinth Zone simply because that stage sucked, so it's a change that I'm rather indifferent about. I also think that the visuals are roughly on par with Sonic 1, which isn't really a bad thing. I didn't go too in depth on Sonic 1's visuals, and that's because I just simply didn't really have much to say about them. And the same goes for Sonic 2's visuals. I think both games look pretty good. I don't really have much of a preference. Yeah. Now, where Sonic 2 has a massive edge over Sonic 1 is in the music department. Sonic 1 already had a pretty good soundtrack, but Sonic 2 takes it to the next level. The music in this game is so much more fast-paced and upbeat compared to Sonic 1's. Metropolis Zone's music is great, the level certainly isn't. I can't even say that this level is the ultimate skill test simply because it just isn't. All the negatives that I talked about with the stages are amplified here. 3 types of enemies and all of them are an absolute pain in the ass and placed in spots designed to screw you over. Not to mention how this level is super repetitive as it has the same set pieces over and over. What's worse is that this is the only level in the game with 3 acts. As I said earlier, I never had a problem with 3 acts except in the bad stages, and this is a really, really bad stage. Like, probably worse than Labyrinth Zone. The stage is frustrating, repetitive, drags the hell on. That's a formula for disaster. Like, this being the big final level warrants it being the hardest one yet, but make it skill-based difficulty and not a flat-out bullshit level. But, if you manage to complete Metropolis Zone without F5ing your console, there is a set-piece level that I'm actually completely in favor of. Skychase tends to be rather polarizing, with it seeming like there's no real consensus as to whether or not it's good, bad, or anywhere in between. Personally, I like it. Skychase doesn't allow you to do a lot of things that you have been able to do up to this point, but it's super relaxing, which is super nice coming after the nightmare of a stage that was Metropolis Zone. It's a very good breather in between all the action. I tend to have worse performance when I'm frustrated, so having a few minutes to cool off a little bit is great, all capped off with this super relaxing music. But Tails' plane is shot down, and so Sonic jumps aboard Eggman's ship, the Wing Fortress Zone, all by himself. This is a 1x zone that ends in a boss fight, and I actually think that this zone is actually a pretty okay zone. This zone does not have nearly the amount of issues that I have with the rest of the whole game. It's much more of a vertical platforming level than anything in Sonic 1 or 2, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, as I tend to see vertical platforming get slammed more often than it gets praised. The boss is probably the worst one in the game though. You have to stand on these spiky platforms so that you can hit this laser blaster at the top, but the area is so damn small that it's just about impossible to not get hit, but it still leagues above Metropolis as a zone. Sonic then follows Robotnik into the Death Egg, which we don't know what it's capable of, but I think that's fine, as I think that adds a little bit to the suspense. Upon entering, Sonic is met with a metallic version of himself, officially given the name Mecha Sonic, but I find it easier to call him Silver Sonic. This boss is very easy. Attacks are pretty easy to dodge, the boss isn't too glitchy, just if you try to bum rush it, you gotta be careful. After that though, you are met with the true final boss, and just like the final boss of Sonic 1, you are without rings for actually both of these bosses. This final boss is pretty easy if you know what you're doing, despite being an absolute mess. Plenty of kills that feel unjustified due to a janky hitbox does not do this boss any favors. With that being said, this boss does a very good job of making it feel like Sonic just might be done here, the robot being huge and this music playing. Just, if you want to beat it, you gotta stay patient. That's really your worst enemy throughout this boss fight. But once Sonic delivers the final blow, the robot and the Death Egg explode and Sonic flees and starts falling helplessly, but then something very interesting happens. Tails sees Sonic and boots up the tornado, showing how much he cares about Sonic and saves him from falling to his doom. This is a 1992 16-bit platformer, not a 7th gen RPG, but a 1992 16-bit platformer without full-on dialogue cutscenes. This game didn't need to have this, but it has an actual ending. And that is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This game increased Sonic's appeal in a way I can't even begin to describe, and I think that that is the game's biggest strength, especially over Sonic 1. I enjoy playing Sonic 1 a lot more because its flaws aren't as significant to me as Sonic 2's, but Sonic 2 introduced so many people to Sonic, and that alone deserves crazy praise. But during Sonic 2's development in America, another Sonic game was being developed in Japan. 1993 is when Sega tried pushing Sonic even further than simply being a system seller. Sonic was given two new cartoon shows, one being Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and the other being Sonic Sat AM. The former being a much more lighthearted show and the latter being far more serious in tone. I haven't watched either show at all, so I really have no opinion on them, so yeah. 93 was also where Sonic started getting spin-off games like Sonic Spinball and Sonic Chaos, both of which will be covered in a later video. Sega also released an add-on to the Genesis called the Sega CD in 1991, featuring more storage space, full motion video, and CD quality music. So naturally, as you would have a big game featuring your mascot to sell systems, Sega did the same thing, but to sell their add-on. So the third main Sonic game is not Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but instead Sonic the Hedgehog CD. Sonic CD being an exclusive for an add-on that didn't really sell well meant that not nearly the amount of people had played it compared to Sonic 1 and 2, but enough people had played it to the point where it was sort of like the lost classic Sonic game. It was so obscure as it didn't have any major re-releases for a long time, as it wasn't a part of Sonic Jam, Sonic Mega Collection, or Sonic Mega Collection Plus, though in 2005 it was finally re-released as a part of the Sonic Gems collection, along with other obscure games such as Sonic R and Sonic the Fighters. So to get into Sonic CD a little bit more, the premise differs significantly from Sonic 1 and 2. Sonic CD takes place on a small planet called, well, Little Planet, as Dr. Robotnik has chained it down to the mountainside and is attempting to take it over, and when Sonic sees this, he goes to take care of business. In order to completely save Little Planet, Sonic must travel into the past to destroy the robot generators, thus creating good futures across the Little Planet. So yeah, time travel, a scrapped Sonic 2 mechanic, is one of the big things about Sonic CD. Two other big things about CD are the two new characters that are introduced, the first of which being Amy Rose, a girl who is in love with Sonic, however unfortunately for her, Sonic does not feel the same way. At the start of the game's second stage, Collision Chaos, she is kidnapped by the game's other big new character, Metal Sonic, an artificial version of Sonic created by Dr. Robotnik with the intention of being able to match Sonic's physical capabilities. Sega was building up Sonic's world with an iconic cast of characters since the very start, as by just the third game we now have a hero, a sidekick, a villain, a lover, and a rival. They did such a good job with designing all the characters as well. Metal Sonic just looks so artificial in every way imaginable, and I absolutely love it. Displaying that he gains speed with the big jet turbine on his back, as well as the joints on his knees and elbows. Not to mention, his black and red eyes mixed with the brow make him look so threatening. The threat of Metal Sonic lingers throughout the entire game, from these projections of him abusing the animals to him kidnapping Amy, all of which you can see in the first two stages of the game, building it up from the very start. Now, to totally shift topics, Sonic was really different between regions. Japan, America, and Europe all had their own unique Sonic design and even lore to an extent. Dr. Robotnik is his name in America, but in Japan his name was, and still is, Dr. Eggman, the name that he is now globally recognized as. The reason I bring this up now is because Sonic CD has the biggest differences between regions out of any game in Sonic history. I'm specifically referring to the soundtrack. The American and Japanese versions of the game have their very own unique soundtracks. The Sega CD was capable of producing CD quality music, so for Sonic CD we have full-on music instead of the Genesis chiptune type music. The Japanese soundtrack is far more high energy, while the American soundtrack is far more laid back. On the whole, both soundtracks are great. However, my preference is the Japanese soundtrack because this soundtrack is absolutely legendary. Each region also received their very own vocal themes for the game. You Can Do Anything for the Japanese version of the game,
You can go again. Don't fall behind. Say don't be late. Destination heaven. Stay alive. Now shoot me. We're going to have fun. Say.
and Sonic Boom for the American version of the game.
If you're strong, you can fly, you can reach the other side of the rainbow. It's alright, take a chance, 'cause there is no circumstance that you can't handle when you use your mind.
And I'm gonna be honest here, I gotta go with Sonic Boom. Now, as a game, I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic CD. Yuji Naka, the lead programmer of Sonic 1, traveled to America with the Sega Technical Institute to develop Sonic the Hedgehog 2, leaving Naoto Oshima and the Japanese developers to craft Sonic CD. This resulted in Sonic CD having far more technical problems than Sonic 1 and 2. Well, let's begin. Sonic CD on paper plays like the previous two games, same mechanics, momentum, etc. Sonic CD introduces a new addition of Sonic's moveset known as the Super Peel Out. Hold up on the control stick and hold the jump button, and you can go flying. Essentially, it's a spin dash without a ball form. It's also accompanied by the returning spin dash. Sort of. The spin dash is totally gimped in this game. You have to charge a spin dash like you do the Super Peel Out, as opposed to in Sonic 2 how you revved it up. So if you release it too early, then you literally don't move. What's weird about this is that Sonic CD initially began development as an enhanced version of Sonic 2, just for the Sega CD. Not sure how the spin dash would have worked in that sense. You also just don't go that fast anyways. In fact, you go slower than if you were to use the super peel out. So the meta is pretty much use the super peel out and roll. In addition to all of this, the collision detection in this game is also straight up broken. There are plenty of instances where movement should feel very smooth, but it gets messed up by the game's terrible collision detection. In some instances, it's pretty inoffensive as it doesn't really get in the way of gameplay despite not looking too good, but in other instances, it's the cause of total bullshit. It's even worse when paired with this game's big time travel mechanic. In Sonic CD, you can travel to either the past or the future by passing by the corresponding time post, building, and maintaining speed until you're transported. The idea of this mechanic is a pretty good one, however, it fails in its execution. Why? Well, first, there is no incentive for traveling to the future. You can only destroy robot generators and progress towards the good ending by traveling to the past, so the future signposts are an obstacle, if anything. They get in your way. Another reason this mechanic fails is because Sonic CD stages are not made for it. The stages don't have the same focus on speed as Sonic 2 or hell, even Sonic 1 for that matter. The game understands this, and that's why there are numerous sections where you bounce between two springs in order to gain a lot of speed. Throw in collision detection issues I mentioned a moment ago, and it gets far, far worse. Multiple times where your speed is halted by something that isn't even your fault. And once you lose your speed, guess what? It's over. You have to find a new sign in order to time travel. You can't use the same time travel sign, meaning that you need to search through these massive levels for another sign, making it very annoying to try and go for the good ending sometimes. However, the game's technical issues, including the collision detection, were fixed in the 2011 remaster released on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, mobile devices, and Steam, led by Christian Whitehead being his first official Sonic project. This remaster is by far the definitive version to play the game for the following reasons. You have full control over which soundtrack you want to listen to, so you can choose to listen to either the Japanese soundtrack or the American soundtrack, your choice. The entire game, including the stages, special stages, intro, and outro cutscenes, are rendered in full widescreen. The special stages are in much better quality. You can toggle whether you want to use the original spin dash from Sonic CD, which I don't know why you'd want to do that, or you can use the spin dash from Sonic 2. And last but not least, the collision detection is entirely fixed, meaning that you won't lose your speed and therefore your ability to time travel due to something that you have no control of. The original version of Sonic CD is not unplayable by any means, but if you plan on playing Sonic CD, just please, for your own sake, play the remaster. It is far better in every single way imaginable. Sonic CD is a perfectly playable and enjoyable to an extent in its original form. However, there are just too many unnecessary hindrances to the game that I don't see the point in playing it over the remaster unless you're some sort of purist. Regardless of what version you play though, the time travel mechanic is still annoying, so if you decide you don't want to go through the struggle of time traveling in this game, the special stages are another option, and you enter them the same way as Sonic 1. I actually really like this method of entry because there's more opportunities than in Sonic 1. The special stages themselves are by far the best out of the three games. Your objective is to chase down and hit all the UFOs before time runs out, but don't touch the water because that'll drain your time. Once you reach 20 seconds remaining, a UFO will appear in the center of the stage that will grant you an additional 30 seconds, and trust me, this thing is an absolute lifesaver. If you are ever in jeopardy of running out of time, just go hit the UFO in the center. The special stages are actually really fun, though in both versions there are times where I swear to God I hit the UFO but I just barely got under it. On the whole, very good on both versions, unlike the shitty Genesis Sonic 2 special stages. Now, if you choose to go with the special stage route, another problem arises. Similar to Sonic 2, the enemy placement can be absolute dog shit. Sonic CD's level layouts are clearly built for exploration, but the enemies directly conflict with this. The enemy placement actively discourages exploration because you're just gonna get hit by something that wasn't visible, and as a result, have a harder time getting the time stones. The previous games, more so Sonic 1, made it so it was just an inconvenience at worst, as you could still beat the game and defeat Robotnik without beating any of the special stages. But in Sonic CD, you need to get all the time stones or destroy all the robot generators, and you're on some shit if you think I'm going for every single one of these damn things. Another thing that this game struggles with are the boss fights. I don't think I need to explain why, but I will anyways. These bosses are all very different from one another. They range from being piss easy and being too annoying as hell to just being a full-on snooze fest. The boss of Palm Tree Panic can be destroyed in 5 seconds if you simply go to the far right of the screen before it drops. The boss of Collision Chaos is annoying as all hell because you have to use these pinball bumpers to get to the top and reach him, but it's so hard because you just get flung around the damn screen. The boss of Quartz Quadrant requires you to run on a treadmill? Really? Like, you have to avoid these spiky balls every so often, but this boss still is just lame as hell. The The only boss in this entire game that isn't a total joke is the race against Metal Sonic in Stardust Speedway. This is awesome. It can get a little annoying sometimes, especially if you're going uphill and he attacks, but this boss overall is great. The music, the stakes, it's all there. But what is debatably this game's biggest advantage over Sonic 1 and 2 is its presentation. There are so many colors on the screen at once, which I said I don't really care about earlier, but holy hell, these zones are great, whether you're playing the original version or the remaster with higher quality visuals. They're just a joy to look at. Especially going through all the variations, they're just amazing. I don't think I need to speak on them any further, they're just great, as I've said 10 times. This game is also the only game so far to have full-on cutscenes. I mean, these things are just great. This intro cutscene is so well made and so epic as well, displaying Sonic's character in so many ways. The outro is pretty cool as well, as it replays pretty much your entire journey in short, from all the badniks you've encountered, the race with Metal Sonic, also the flowers being restored below Little Planet. Pretty cool. And well, that's just about it for Sonic CD. I said earlier that I'm not the biggest fan of the game, but that doesn't mean that I think it's bad. I think it's a game that's worse than Sonic 1, sure, and maybe on par, maybe worse than Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It is a game that I think is solid, it's not great, it has a lot of issues that could have been fixed, and it's a game with very cool concepts and ideas that unfortunately just weren't executed all that well. But I think the fact that it was willing to try so many different things deserves a lot of praise. But enough Sonic CD. Let's move forward. So since Sonic CD was an exclusive for an add-on that didn't sell all that well, there wasn't a true sequel to Sonic 2 that was as big as Sonic 2 itself. Sonic CD was more of a sequel to Sonic 1, if anything, since it shared more similarities to that game. So that meant that the Genesis had no real Sonic game to call its own in 1993. Yeah, there was Sonic Spinball and Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, but those were spin-offs that weren't even in the same genre of the other games, with none of the Sonic fundamentals, I may add. But that would change in 1994, as two Sonic games were released that year, Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles. You all know the story. The game had to be split into two parts, and Sega added a lock-on feature to Sonic & Knuckles. If you plugged Sonic 2 on, you could play as Knuckles in Sonic 2. But more importantly, if you plugged Sonic 3 onto Sonic & Knuckles, you could play the full experience, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Sonic 3 and Knuckles was planned to be the biggest and best Sonic game yet, and oh boy, did they deliver. More stages, more characters, more secrets, more special stages, more emeralds, more action to help make this by far the best Sonic game on the Genesis. The first topic with this game is how to play it, since there are numerous ways to do so. I'm gonna start by saying that I'm just gonna look at this as one game, since I just don't see the point in looking at it as two separate games, as it was always meant to be one game. That's how development started, and the only reason it was even separated was because of unforeseen circumstances. I'll flip-flop between referring to it as Sonic 3, Sonic 3K, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Just know that no matter which one I say, I'm talking about both games together, unless I specifically state otherwise. The reason I make it such a big topic for this game over the other ones is because the other ones have official definitive versions to play, the HD remasters, whereas Sonic 3 and Knuckles has a bit more history to it. Basically, Sonic 3 and Knuckles was last released on Steam back in 2011, and it hasn't seen a remaster or re-release since because of legal issues within the game's soundtrack. Obviously, now we know that it's getting re-released as a part of Sonic Origins, but as of the time of writing and recording this, it hasn't come out, nor have we seen anything of it. So, the definitive version of Sonic 3 and Knuckles isn't actually developed by Sega, it's developed by fans. Sonic 3 Angel Island Revisited, or as I'll be calling it, Sonic 3 Air, adds full widescreen, achievements, tons of customization options from graphical settings, changing the level layouts to match the different versions of the game, the drop dash from Sonic Mania, time attack mode, an absolutely amazing job by Yuka to give us more than a Christian Whitehead remaster likely would have given us. So now, let's get into the game full stop. After Sonic defeated Robotnik at the end of Sonic 2 and destroyed the Death Egg, it crash-landed onto the mysterious island known as Angel Island, the home of the brand new character for this game, Knuckles the Echidna. Knuckles is the last member of an ancient echidna tribe who disappeared after trying to harness the power of the Master Emerald, the emerald that can control the power to the Chaos Emeralds. This gets expanded upon in a future title, but so far, yeah, this game by far has the most story and lore out of any of these four titles. To talk about Knuckles a little bit more, he's the new rival character for Sonic. Metal Sonic was a pretty good rival, but he, by intention, did not have much character or personality to him, making Knuckles a far better rival right off the jump. Knuckles has an incredible design for similar reasons as Sonic. His two major abilities are climbing walls and gliding. How does he do so? Well, he climbs walls by digging his sharp knuckles into walls, and he glides by using his long dreads. Not to mention that, as a rival to Sonic, his color, red, directly contrasts with Sonic's blue. I said a moment ago that this game has far more story than any of the previous games, and it does a great job of telling its story as well. This game builds up your disdain towards Knuckles as he is constantly getting in your way at every turn and laughing while doing so. It's very effective, all leading up to the epic yet easy fight near the end of the game, but we'll talk about that more when we get there. Now let's get into Sonic 3 as a game. First, I will start out with my list of flaws with Sonic 3. Yeah, this game does not have a single major flaw that sticks out to me. It's a game that, while it's not perfect, it's consistently great throughout its entire runtime. No more bad collision, cheap level design, or flat-out bad stages. Sonic 3 has a damn near perfect blend of platforming, speed, and exploration, with numerous sections where Sonic nearly outruns the camera, sections that reward the curious mind greatly, as well as some very fun platforming. This game has a grand total of 14 zones, by far the most of any of these games, and there's so much variety in not only the stages, but the set pieces as well. From dodging bombs on Angel Island Zone, running on the water and hydrocity zone, snowboarding on Ice Cap Zone, it's all a joy. Angel Island really let the creativity of the devs shine. I mean, they went absolutely nuts with the environments here. One major thing that Sonic 3 figures out how to handle is its special stages. You've probably noticed that each of the previous games, I took issue with special stages in some way, whether that be the special stages themselves, entering them, and how it didn't fit with the stages, etc. Sonic 3 is by far the best in each of these aspects, as you have to find these giant rings that are hidden throughout the stages and jump inside them. So no bullshit enemy placement can cheat me out of a special stage anymore. And on top of that, you have a lot of opportunities to make it in. As for the special stages themselves, they are, in any version of the game, the best special stages by far. No longer do you have to worry about the lack of control you have or shitty rendering of stages. The controls are very simple, as well as the objective. Collect all the blue spheres and don't touch the red ones. Well-designed special stages and a great method of entry that fit great with the level design, and you have one of the best Chaos Emerald quests in the entire series. But to make sure that the second half of the game isn't totally broken by Supersonic, if you manage to get all the Chaos Emeralds by the end of Launch Base Zone, the last stage of standalone Sonic 3, then in Mushroom Hill Zone, the first stage of standalone Sonic and Knuckles, you will be greeted with a new type of giant ring that shines all different colors. You will then get taken to the Master Emerald Shrine, as the Chaos Emeralds will then turn into the Super Emerald, as you now have 7 more special stages to play. If you manage to complete them all, you unlock Hypersonic, a multicolored form with even more power than Supersonic, as he's even faster, can jump even higher, and has a dash attack that can destroy anything on screen, and he can't drown. All of these great aspects of Sonic 3, and I haven't even mentioned the game's awesome soundtrack. This game's music is an absolute joy to listen to, and complements the game very well, as the game is constantly pumping high energy music throughout its whole run. These things make Sonic 3 a great game to play and replay, since it's basically impossible to get bored of it. Another reason to replay the game is because of all the characters you can play as. Sonic 2 allowed you to both play as Sonic, Tails, and the two together, but they were the same in terms of their playstyle. Here, you have Sonic, Tails, Sonic and Tails together, and Knuckles. Sonic being the only character who can use the Insta-Shield, an ability which can give you a little bit more range for mid-air attacks, as well as take full advantage of the shield power-ups. Tails is no longer just a Sonic reskin anymore, as he can fly, allowing him to access higher paths and secret areas easier than Sonic, essentially making him the easy mode for the game. You can still play as Sonic and Tails together, which is far better than it was in Sonic 2, because the boss clipping issue is not nearly as bad in this game, though it definitely still exists, and Tails does not make your experience in the special stages more frustrating like he did in Sonic 2. Pretty much making this the way that I play this story, because just like Sonic 2, it just feels right to have Sonic and Tails together. I say this story because Knuckles' campaign does not follow the same events as Sonic and or Tails' campaign, which are alternative ways to play the same story. Knuckles' campaign takes place after Sonic's, and his antagonist is the Egg Robo. So why would you play as Knuckles if you can just play as Sonic or Tails? That is because Knuckles' campaign is a completely unique experience. I just mentioned the different story that Knuckles' campaign follows, but Knuckles gives you another way to play the levels, in addition to having segments that are unique to him. Knuckles can also transform into Super and Hyper Knuckles once he has collected all the Chaos and Super Emeralds, so exploration is still rewarded. Another way that Sonic 3 ramps up the action is by having what is easily the best set of bosses out of any of these Genesis games so far. These bosses are still very easy, don't get me wrong, but you can't just turn off your brain and beat them in 2 seconds like the bosses of the previous games. Also, can we talk about how good this game looks? This game has by far the best looking environments out of any of the Genesis games, in part because of the variety, but still. Even Sonic CD, which was on the Sega CD, was far more capable than the base Genesis, and it still doesn't come close to the visuals of Sonic 3. All the character sprites have been redone from scratch, and these are by far my favorite sprites out of any of these games. In the case of Sonic and Tails, I feel that these sprites are more based off the Japanese designs, whereas the previous games, Sonic, at the very least, had his sprites based more off the American design. But out of all of these great positives, where does Sonic 3 and Knuckles shine the brightest? 2 words. Ludonarrative harmony, which is when the gameplay and story combine in order to enhance the experience. The previous games did this well, but those games have nothing on Sonic 3 in this department, especially during the game's climax. Throughout Lava Reef Zone, you are constantly reminded of the Death Egg's threat as it looms in the background before lighting the cold section up near the end, which ends up setting up the Act 2 boss against Robotnik. Transitioning straight into Hidden Palace Zone, where Sonic and Tails encounter and fight Knuckles, who actually does put up a pretty decent fight. Once you figure him out though, he's like any other boss. Upon being defeated, Robotnik steals the Master Emerald as it turns out that Knuckles was being tricked by Robotnik to believe that Sonic was the bad guy, and with no time to waste, Knuckles quickly turns over a new leaf and quickly helps Sonic and Tails reach the Death Egg to stop Robotnik. Sky Sanctuary is a great stage, as while it's much more linear than any of the previous stages, and therefore not allowing for the same exploration, that is with intention to highlight the climactic nature of the stage. A squad of badniks are on your ass, and you're doing all you can just to reach the Death Egg as it's taking off, with the music being oddly fitting as well. You end up fighting the latest Sonic clone, Mecha Sonic, who can operate Robotnik's other machines and even harness Chaos Energy to go super for brief periods of time. After getting through Sky Sanctuary and defeating Mecha Sonic, by the skin of your teeth, you end up being able to reach the Death Egg. This leads into the final level, Death Egg Zone, and the final bosses of Sonic 3. The penultimate boss of this game has got to be one of my favorites in Sonic history. Although Tails can get in the way as the clipping issue is present here to a decent degree, I still love this boss, in large part due to how epic it is. Once you defeat that boss though, we have the true final boss and the first Super Sonic exclusive fight in the Doomsday Zone. While this is by far the easiest of the final bosses, it's still really epic, and well, that's just all I can really say about it. But upon defeating Robotnik once and for all, Sonic retrieves and returns the Master Emerald to Angel Island, raising it afloat once more. Sonic and Tails have a new friend as they fly away, ending Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. And that is the classic Sonic saga. 4 games that helped build one of the most popular video game characters, hell, one of the most popular fictional characters of all time. They did it by not being afraid to go balls to the wall with what they wanted to do. What franchise at this point was building a world, lore, and creating such memorable characters alongside such great gameplay, mechanics, and level design? None were. They did not need to build up your desire to defeat Robotnik in Sonic 1. They did not need to have Tails save Sonic in Sonic 2. They did not need to constantly remind you about Metal Sonic's threat in Sonic CD. And last but not least, they did not need to have an epic and unforgettable climax in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But they did it to keep players engaged, and it's what makes these games so memorable. It's a part of the reason why I played the original Sonic trilogy so much when I was younger, over other games. But this was only the beginning of Sonic's run. In a future video, I'll take a look at Sonic's outing on Sega's handheld companion to the Genesis, the Sega Game Gear, but that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.